As a designer who may not have always felt like it had a strong connection to the core business strategy or could really understand and interpret data, well, now the tools allow you to do that so easily. The core of what makes a designer super valuable is just being amplified by this moment. Hi, my name's Katarina Batina, and I lead design at Shopify. I think the thing that's really unique now is just how ahead of the curve Shopify's been. We've been given such unfettered access to every kind of tool possible and an unlimited amount of tokens to use to really explore this space of what it means to be designing in the new era. And that's something that we've really been embracing at Shopify. This idea that not only designers can be builders now, but what we're able to think about, our creativity has just been wildly expanded. You almost used to think of those pieces of the process cut by discipline. Product is responsible for the proposal, design is kind of responsible for the prototype and getting the concept of what we want to build together, and build is largely an engineering pursuit. The disciplines have entirely collapsed around that product development process. One theme that's super top of mind for me is helping designers grow in this environment of really rapid change, and that spans from new grads out of school who are coming into a moment in the industry where the definition of the job is changing very quickly, to principal designers who are evolving their practice even though they've been at it for the last 10 to 15 years.
This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I tried to approach it maybe about a year or so ago. And it was like rethinking how we build the store, merchant store and shop. Originally, I did it in Figma. I made some prototypes. We looked at them. It felt very static and very not real.
Yep.
And then in an afternoon, I was able to build out this, which pulls in real data. It basically takes a look at the online store, and then I asked Claude to rebuild it given all of the shop client components that we have. I showed this to you, I think it was about 4 o'clock on a Friday. And this is after kind of still working on this idea a bit more and building out a pretty convincing prototype that can really show the possibility of us kind of rebuilding the store with all the components that we have.
So much of what we do in Shopify is representing the brands of other merchants, and real data is key here, right? There's so many assets. It's so interesting to look at the interface here because you've basically built like a pretty beautiful piece of software. You're using this to illustrate a real product opportunity.
Yeah, this is a vehicle to get the thing that's in my head out and away.
And it's funny to think about even 6 months ago, the amount of meetings, docs, assets we would have generated that would have not at all illustrated.
It would have been a deck. It would have been some deck that I have that has like really pretty couple of prototypes, but it would have died there. And now that there's this link, because we use Quick obviously to share this out, I can share this with the entire team. And it's just kind of a really fun time to be working on this stuff right now.
There was this idea that the thing that made a great product was understanding what made a product desirable, feasible, and viable. Desire being, do people want to use this? Feasible, can it be built? And viable, is it going to impact the business? You could easily split those three across the disciplines. Design was responsible for making it desirable, engineering was largely responsible for making it feasible, and product, is the thing viable. And I think what's most interesting about this moment, and what I've always believed about design, is that design has an important role in making sure that people want the thing in the first place so that it's actually solving a problem, but that all the other things, the feasibility of it and the viability of it, are really important inputs to making a well-designed product. Product development at Shopify has historically been incredibly design-driven. I think that's more so true now than ever. Whereas before, a Figma and a prototype was really our source of truth, now real coded prototypes are either our source of truth that then inform the build, or at times are production ready. Obviously, getting close to the code is another important piece of the puzzle, but everybody has their own flavor, and it's kind of been cool to watch designers design their development experience. We have people using Codex, and same amount of people using Claude Code, but also then venturing into Pi and actually custom building their own agent harnesses to really give themselves an opportunity to develop an agent-based design experience that really suits their needs, the kind of product that they're designing for, and they're really able to turn the knobs and dial in that experience, which is really cool to see.
Hey, I'm Liam Fennell. I'm the product designer here at Shopify working on Shop app. And so I built a little tool that I'm going to show up today. We can create prototypes in React Native in Swift or in Expo. And then you can iterate on these versions with your coworkers. I'll start running this one. It uses a shop prototype kit, which is basically rebuilding shop client in Swift. You don't have to open your terminal at all. It's a little bit easier for maybe less technical designers who don't want to get into the weeds of setting up dev every time, doing all that. And then on the flip side of that, we can also spin up shop client. This is usually like the heaviest to get going. You have to pull down changes from main every single time. And it's just like the hardest thing to spin up for someone that's not super technical. So this just simplifies it into one click. We like preference to prototyping in shop client because everything's there. And then we can just hand it straight to engineers to start working.
We initially started with a very wide exploration of what collecting better reviews could look like. I started off in Figma, just exploring different flows that are improved versions of what we have on the app today. And then the next step was moving to Claude Code and Codex and trying to look at what this actually looks like on the app. This was a very fun experience because I could look at what this looks like in the live shop code, which I haven't ever done before. And it also helped us narrow down like what works, what doesn't work. It helped having something in front of our eyes that looks like this could exist within the app. The best part about this was that it helps us make decisions really fast, cut things that don't work and double down on things that are beginning to look good, beginning to work. Exploring motion, trying to actually share what a live prototype could look like on the app. It feels a lot more real as compared to a static Figma mock. It was also the first time that I could hand off some code to an engineer, which was definitely an interesting experience as a designer.
There's a lot of focus on designers being able to ship production code, all of which is great. But the other really cool thing is how it's allowing designers to stretch into other crafts like product and data, right? And we have something called the data portal, which is essentially an MCP that anyone in the company has access to. And that allows designers who are curious about how many active users are on their product, what's the conversion rate on a particular flow they're using, they're able to just ask those questions and do their own product research. This paired with another tool we have, Scout, which is basically all of our support tickets, all of our user interviews that we've done in depth with merchants and buyers alike. That whole knowledge base is now queryable. And so you've got basically user experience intelligence, a data scientist all at your fingertips so that you can gain all the context you need to answer whatever question you are curious about to inform your better design decision making, which is super cool.
This project was for an agentic feed card, and the idea is that we have lots of different feed objects. In this one, its main goal is to open up a conversation in our new agentic shopping feature. Because the feed has lots of structure and rules to how it works, the first bit of this project was understanding a bit of the technical design. And so I pulled an old document from our engineers and put it into Pi, which is our LLM harness that allowed me to quickly summarize and break down some of the key constraints. After I gathered all of the restraints, I built out this quick visual that showed the steps from app load through all of the ranking, the deduping, and ultimately the selection process for a card and feed. And that allowed us to slot in how this agentic card would be selected from recently viewed objects and how a prompt would be generated from those recently viewed objects to create a new conversation type. It was time to go into Figma and do a quick exploration. This turned into a very long exploration, but it allowed us to demonstrate some range in what we did want and what we didn't want out of this feed card. Initially, this is the first animation that I made in origami to understand how this card could come to life. My initial version pulled a standard feed card element and just added a bit of a scroll and then this drawer underneath that could reveal conversation. And then after you click that, you could go into our agentic shopping agent. But you can see the breadth of work and motion that was considered along this process, and ultimately where we ended up in the final stages of this project.
I think the thing that's really interesting about the design process right now is the outputs and the tools are super fragmented. So one of the important things that we wanted to make sure we did is create a holding space for all of the different prototypes. And there's really two tools we use for that. One is Quick. And Quick is basically just a very easy way to self-host a link for a prototype and ship it anywhere in the organization really quickly. And then the other important tool is Artifact. We have some designers working in Figma, some designers working in coded prototypes, some designers still using origami, but they're all working on the same product. And so Artifact allows you to collect all matter of artifacts into one project and view those really easily and share with stakeholders.
It was fun watching you work on Shopify.design. I think you've got a little bit here to show us in terms of like how you approached actually creating some of the fun things that we put into the website.
I tend to view AI as like, this is more of just another tool that I get to use to get to where I'm going. I know that the last 10, 20% I'll have to do manually, depending on what it is. Sometimes I do 100% manual. For example, like, we wanted to create this little floating character on our project, and so you have this little floating character here, and each time you click on him, his jacket gets crazier and crazier. You can train an AI model on somebody's likeness. You import a bunch of pictures, and then you get to create little characters of him. You just have to jump from one tool to the next and
Stitch just together.
Super curious and stitch everything together.
It's so crazy. I feel like you're reaching for like different paintbrushes, basically.
Yeah,
like you get the right effect that you want.
And it's basically just understanding that like you cannot have a perfect output, and that's totally fine. And just knowing that like this is not where it ends, that was a huge unlock for me, because sometimes you're just like, oh, it just doesn't work. But actually, you just have, whether it's like taking manual tools like compositing, what I used to do all the time, on top of AI, or using all these different AI tools that are good at different things.
That's such a good point. I think so many people, including myself, will try to one-shot something. It's like garbage and I just walk away. But like, it's really about keeping at it and mixing the tools to get to the right outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
As a designer who may not have always felt like it had a strong connection to the core business strategy or could really understand and interpret data, well, now the tools allow you to do that so easily. The core of what makes a designer super valuable is just being amplified by this moment.